passion, inspiration, determination. Are you ready to jump into a new business idea? Are you ready to jump into a better life? Welcome to our program, Jump Into It. Thank you for joining Jump Into It, a podcast and live show to help entrepreneurial-minded women jump into a better life. Welcome. I'm your host, Gabriella Hillman, CEO of 360 Integral Marketing. I'm a marketer, entrepreneur, and author. And I'm so happy to have the opportunity of helped over 100 businesses establish themselves and grow successfully. And along with me is my host, Anita Booth. She is an accomplished marketing executive, two-time author, and spiritual activist. And we also have with us a very special guest, SHELLY LYNN. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She is the founder and publisher of 365 Fresh Magazine. She's got a bestseller on Amazon, and she's an entrepreneur for over 20 years. So she's got a lot to share with us, and we're very excited. She's going to share her journey, her expertise, and the very hot topic about what many businesses are having a challenge on is how to build a strong community and a social media following that's going to really accelerate their business. So before we jump into it, if you have any questions, please use the chat and we'll get to the questions by the end of the program. So Anita, as a senior marketer, what are your thoughts and takeaway on building a strong community and a social media following?
Thank you so much, Gabriella, and welcome to all our audience who's joining us this evening. So as you know, I am a senior marketer, and I've had the pleasure of helping a lot of brands over the last few years. And there is a few things that I really see stand out when you're trying to build a community and a strong network. And really what your objective is really you're looking to build trust with your audience. And the best way to build trust, I find 4 top ways. And one of them is, the first is common goal. Having a common goal or purpose is a great way to rally people together on your same mission. Number 2 is find a voice. Find a voice that is yours and is meaningful, and you have something to say and share. And while you're doing that, you're looking to be authentic. And being authentic allows you to build that trust. It allows you to be relatable, and it provides an opportunity to engage with your audience. And then the 4th is consistency and frequency with your message. I find that it's most important when you're working on your channels and you're looking to make those connections is that you have to stay top of mind. You have to stay on your message. So when you find that authenticity and you find your voice, look to put it out there as often as you can, and frequency is important. And I'm sure that SHELLY is going to have some thoughts around how to build a strong network as well. So I'm super excited to have SHELLY here with us, and I'll turn it back to you, Gabriella, to welcome her in.
Thank you so much, Anita. Some really great 4 tips. And as we introduce her, SHELLY, we're very excited. Thank you again, SHELLY, for joining in on this podcast. And, you know, with all the accomplishments that you've had as a publisher and founder of 360 Pursuit and, you know, Fresh Magazine, we're well aware that you know the importance of building trust and engagement. Can you share with the audience your tips on how you build a strong community and following?
Well, first of all, ladies, thank you for having me here today. It is such an honor. I know we've met through just communicating, me reaching out to you. I would say for myself, one of the biggest things that I've ever done that has helped me grow is to be authentic, to be real, to be me, reach out. At there, you know, times we think, well, oh, I'm really afraid, right? Or, you know, how am I going to make this grow? Well, when you're yourself and you're not pretending to be someone else, and you can reach people one-on-one and have conversations with them, that is the number one thing, is to be authentic and sharing a little bit about yourself. You know, I share, even tonight, I actually shared on my Instagram a little bit of my personal side of me. I don't share everything. Obviously, I like to keep some things private, but I do like to share a little bit about myself so people get to know who are the people behind the company. You know, like, what is Shelly's thoughts? What do you know, what does she stand for? And generally the public, as well as, you know, public that are following you, your followers, or people that are going to do business with you, when you're open and honest and sharing a part of you, and you know, having those same morals, having those same ethics, then I think that people generally want to work with you. I mean, at least that's what I find, is just being myself.
Yeah, being very relatable, and you know, it's hard to build that trust today in the virtual world. So being authentic is, and it's not easy to translate the authenticity to a lot of people. It's like, as you said, people are afraid to show who they really are. But thank you for that. Anita, you have any questions on?
Yeah, Shelley. Well, I do, and I would love to hear in a moment a little bit more about how we should be encouraging people to build their community. But you just mentioned something about your journey, and you'd like to share a little bit about your experience. So maybe this is a great opportunity that you could share with us a bit of your entrepreneurial story, how you started out, what got you down this path.
Sure, for sure. So I did go to college, but I didn't go to college for anything that I'm doing right now. I went to school for criminology, and then eventually I realized that wasn't a path that I wanted to go. I ended up becoming a personal trainer at a very young age and helping people one-on-one. So I entered the fitness and health and wellness field. With that, with my ex-husband, we had started a national health magazine. It started off in the Lower Mainland, it started off in Victoria, British Columbia, and then it went across Canada. So with that, I learned that not only did I really love marketing and really loved communicating with people and helping them, that's when I realized I was an international fitness competitor, and I realized, well, what could I do on my own? Because I always stood behind someone. And then I realized that I kind of wanted to do my own thing. And, you know, even though I was married and I appreciated that business, I really wanted to do my own thing. So I thought, well, what is missing in the Vancouver market, or what is missing in the Canadian market, being a competitor that was in the United States? Well, Vancouver had not had a women's magazine. And I thought, well, how do we not, 12, 13 years ago, how does Vancouver not have a women's magazine? And that's when I started Fresh Magazine. And I wanted to be different. You know, the typical magazines that were on the market today, or have been on the market, I mean, it's changing now because we have like Zoomer magazine, and, some that are for the 40 or 50 plus. With that, I started Fresh Magazine, and we were interviewing women that were 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old and putting them on our cover. That was something that was not done 15 years ago. We wanted to only have cover models and cover women, right? We didn't really focus on a woman that age. I knew, as I was getting older, we have a lot to share. 40, 50, 60 plus, 80, 90. We have so much experience. Why? I knew it was a niche for me to do. Yeah. And so I reached out, and again, reaching out and connecting. So that's when I started Fresh Magazine. So we've had, some incredible women on the cover. We've had Sarah McLachlan. One of my favorite photo shoots was Jan Arden. I mean, one of the most authentic, real human beings you're ever going to be around in your entire life. And that's what I wanted, is just to represent women in a different way. And so that's how I started Fresh Magazine.
Yeah, because you also have some pretty, you have a great book, 365 Pursuit, that you have, can you tell a little bit about that book as well? You've got a series, I think you're on your third one, and Anita and I are in it.
Both in it, yeah. So let's just say about just before COVID, just before COVID, I was asked to go to the United Nations and speak for International Women's Day, representing Canadian women entrepreneurs, alongside, I think it was 5 other pretty incredible women in business in Canada. And then COVID happened. And then it didn't happen. At the same time, Fresh Magazine couldn't be printed anymore because my distribution channel, which was 3,000 spas and salons across Canada, the spas and salons were closed. So my distribution channel's gone. And then also my advertisers are gone. So I had to think outside the box and how can I celebrate International Women's Day? How can I keep my company going? how can I continue? Well, it's the pivot happened. And with the pivot is actually where Pursue 365, the community and the books and the, where we are now, is where we are. So I thought, well, I need to bring people to my website, which was Fresh Magazine. Probably something that I need as a woman and as an entrepreneur and as, where we are in the world of COVID is likely what other women are needing in their own business, in their personal life. So what did we need? We needed community. We're stuck in our homes. I mean, I was at home with a 4-year-old and I guess she was 14 at the time. I was by myself, right? So create a community and also create some awareness or advertising to the women that got involved with Pursue 365. And I wanted to support them in their personal lives. And I also wanted to support them in their business lives. So I literally and I want to support my own company.
Yeah.
So I literally went to 365 of my friends or business clients. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. I'm going to interview you, or we're going to do a story on you on Fresh Magazine's website. And then I also want you to send me a personal story for Pursue 365 book. So you're going to write a personal story that's 365 words or less. In the back of the book, we're going to have a directory. All the women's names got on the cover. So it was presented by me, but it's actually their story. So we 365 days of the year, we had a different woman on our Fresh Magazine site. We have backlinks to their website. We did their social media channels, as well as on Instagram. And then we had our book that came out on International Women's Day, which was a best-selling book. And I've got one here somewhere. It's 3.65 pounds. It's in over 100 libraries. Now it's being sold in places like Walmart, Barnes and Noble, 6-7 countries.
Fantastic.
So that's how it all started. It was just this idea,
Right. But you know what? If the COVID hadn't happened, you probably would not have opened up to this whole other opportunity. I mean, that's part of being a great entrepreneur, is that when you get lemons, you make lemonade.
Well, that is being a great entrepreneur, I think, and actually, or just being one that can think outside the box. It's about survival mode. It's about survival. What are we going to do? What was I going to do to survive? And I knew at that point in time, other women a lot of them were in the same position with me, even having their spouses at home. Whether they had their children at home or not, we needed a community during that time. Well, guess what? 3 years, 4 years later, we still need our communities, and we need them even more so now.
Yeah. And what I think is sorry, Anita.
Oh, no, go on.
So true. So true. And you talked a lot about this idea, and what was what was the impetus to build the community? Where did you start? Share with us some things that, made was it a phone call? Were you online?
It was literally phone calls, emails, asking my friends to introduce me to people. It was really just get down to it and just make those phone calls, emails, and asking whether it's your business acquaintances or your friends, if they knew of anyone that would be interested in this idea that I have. And it just went like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say, it was something it happened, quite quickly. I wouldn't say it was something that was super easy, but it was very well received. And I realized that I wasn't the only one in the position that I was in, wanting the community, but also needed help in the business.
And the power of the network, right? The power
of the network and the power of the ask. And a lady used that term with me one time, the power of the ask. And really, even speaking to you guys was me reaching out for business purposes. The power of the ask is so important. And I think letting go of our egos and really realizing that we are no better than the person sitting next to us. And that person sitting next to us is no better than us. I'm just as valuable as you two. You're both just as valuable to me.
So what I was going to add to it with Shelly is that producing a book with 365 women, all of those women shared, I was going to say, Shelly, is that with that book, producing a book with 365 women, each woman has their own social network, and they're going to push out the announcement of this book. So you've got actually 365 ambassadors to push out this book that you launch, which is genius. It really is, because there you instantly built a community.
It was, yeah. And that's the thing, is like, well, how are you going to, someone, well, how are you going to market this? Well, I'm going to market it because every single one of these women were helping me market it, and there was benefit to them. And I made sure that the price wasn't that high. Essentially, they were paying to get part of our community, and also they're advertising for their business. But the book side of it, I mean, that was essentially an add-on as a free. I mean, it just made sense. So yeah, they are all sending the messages out and doing the social media and talking about it. So that was building the community. So that was our first book. And then the second time around, we had a lot of men like, why? Well, we want to get involved. And, sometimes I find, yes, okay, men do.
Oh, say it.
Men do get a bad rep sometimes. They really do. And I've gone from being a woman in business company only to being a people in business company, because I realize now, being a single mom, and I realize the importance of all relationships in our community. I've gone from being that to that. Now, that being said, I know we need organizations for men. I know we need organizations for women. I know we need organizations for children, but I've really changed the way that I was doing things. So we went back. Men wanted to be involved. We first started off with 2 books from last year. It was going to be a men's book and a woman's book. And I was like, that's not feeling right to me, because we've got some non-binary people in the book. We've transgender, but we've got everybody in the book. We don't say no to anyone, really, because we all have a story. So I went back and I said, no, we're doing a book and it's for everyone, but it's for men and women, 99% Canadians. And again, we did the same thing. Then that was the book that got us, a lot more larger coverage, because it was the second time around. And that's the one that opened us up to all the countries. But yeah, so that's the second one.
So how was it? Was there a difference in working with men versus women and getting the book together?
I hate to say it, but yes, there is. There is, yeah. We just do it differently. We just do business differently. And there's nothing, we like to say that we're all the same. We're not all the same, meaning gender wise, we're different. Men tend to do things differently than women do. And I did notice a difference. So yeah.
Well, you're leading us to the question. What's the difference?
Is there story difference?
Little things, like the marketing side of it. I found the women were a lot more on the marketing side of it, that they had the proper headshots, that they had their stuff in on time. They were more task oriented and on time. And just, well, when I get it there, I get it there. The deadlines weren't hard deadlines. And then again, that's just very general, but those are some of the things that we very much noticed. Mm-hmm.
And when you were going out on, you said emails and you're on your channels, did you find that one of the channels for you is more of your go-to? Do you prefer being, I know being in person is always fantastic, and I'm sure you have opportunities to go and push your book in sort of those public settings, but I'm curious if you found that, you really loved, pushing your stuff through one of the social channels, or if you're more, pick up the phone and have those conversations, which I feel like you're probably more about that, a little bit more personal touch.
Yeah, I like to have that personal touch, because as I said in the beginning of the conversation, when people know you, they know you. And I mean, they know your values. Values is a huge thing in business for me. Values is big. Well, and in personal relationships and in business relationships. I once, said no to someone who wanted a cover of the magazine, and they wanted to pay me something like $30,000 or $35,000 just to be on the cover. I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to say no to this, because I wanted everyone to be on the cover, just someone who I personally chose. And I just find that those relationships, they're so important. That is the core of my business growth. And when I find that there's someone, maybe a miscommunication, I will get on the phone and I will speak to that person and say, hey, you know what? there's obviously a little bit of miscommunication here amongst us. I'm not understanding what you need. You're not understanding what I need, or we're just not vibing together. I would like to talk this out because I would like both parties to be happy with the situation. And I'm not afraid to say that, because that is good communication. My dog again. That is good communication. And that's what builds trust. And that's what builds solid companies. There's a story that Brian Scudamore, who owns 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and I read it on his, and he's in the book, by the way, him and Jimmy Pattison. And he went and had, in the morning, he picked up the phone and he was asking, he said, oh, I want to have a visit with Jimmy Pattison. I want to meet him, right? I want to learn about this from this billionaire. Weirdly enough, they got him in at 1 o'clock that day. And there was a situation why, I think it was the president of Save-On Foods, who was a political person before they became the president of Save-On. Well, he asked Jimmy, like, did you make this person the president of Save-On Foods because it was a political move for you? Or was he really the best man for the job? Well, Jimmy said after they hired this gentleman, I think it was something like 800 Save-On Foods grocery store card holders called up and canceled their card because they thought it was a political move. Jimmy found out, he picked up the phone himself. We're talking about 11.5 billionaire. Jimmy's 94 years old. This was like 10 years ago. He picks up the phone and calls every single one of those members and said, I'm sorry that you're doing this. I didn't do this as a political move. I did it because he was the best man of the job. And I think there was the rate of people coming back was like, I don't know, 98% or something, just because he went and made that call and made that connection. And I just find that fascinating.
So you know what I'm hearing here, and Anita, you can chime in too, is that personal connection is old school. Right? It's about, picking up the phone. The social media is on the airways, but it's not that same. You're not getting the same connection through the social media as you are by just picking up, doing old school networking and hitting the pavement and talking to people. And what I'm saying?
I think old school networking, I think old school networking is just as important, and the social media networking is just important. It's like, we call ourselves a multimedia platform now. So I say we do this, and this.
Yeah.
One of them is making sure that I'm connecting with people. The other side of it is social media. The other side of it is the video, like what you guys are doing. The other side of it is the old school books, the magazines, and the connecting. So I think the smarter way to do it is to kind of look at all of these different platforms and do a bit of all of them and find out whatever's working best for you. But you can't forget about one. You can't forget about one.
Integrated approach, right? It's all,
Yes.
You would never in a marketing strategy or plan ever suggest that you focus on sort of one avenue, one tactic. You have, it's like the wheels in the spoke, right? And they all come together to play your symphony, so to speak.
But don't you find sometimes when someone is just like, oh, well, just social media is working for me? I think, well, that's great that it's working for you. But if you could pick up these other areas, you're going to do so much better.
Yeah.
When you can be personal, that personal care, like what Jimmy did. I mean, those 900 people, whatever, the amount of dollars just from him doing that, I mean, he's a billionaire, but still the amount of dollars that he's brought back in just from having that personal touch, his advertisers are everywhere. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, there is a strategy where you invest more based on the investment that you'll get, the return from the relationship. So if you're going to get, right, so if there's a lot at stake here, and it is, it's a business opportunity that's going to give you millions, you're not going to send them a direct message on Facebook and say, hey, how are you doing? Okay, you're going to take them to dinner. You're going to do the high touch, high connect. But if it's someone that you just want to build some type of following with, in order that they may become a client that's going to buy your bubble gum, or it's going to buy, a pair of pants, then you're not going to be investing that much in the relationship. You're going to have a tier approach to what efforts you put on the different types of relationships that you have, or the different types of segments, or your audience, or your buyers that you have. And that's,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely. But you think some of the best people, the larger corporations that we know of, I mean, the names that I was just saying, Brian Scudamore, Jimmy Pattison, Dr. Ann Kaplan, all of these people, let's go back to Dawn Shubai, who you just had, who's now got her own company. It's so important when you're building a community in social media to build your personal brand on top of your business brand and holding yourself accountable for that the choices you make affects the entire business, right? So I'm really that person that really believes in our personal branding on top of our on top of our business brand.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, when it comes to selling your company, you can't sell yourself. You can't, you're not included in it. So at some time, if you're doing a departure from your business, there has to be an exit strategy between you being the front face of it and just it becoming, do you know what I mean? It becoming an entity and brand of its own.
Well, even I think you guys were, Lorna Vanderhaeg. She was one of my cover women. I've known her. She's another woman who speaks for me quite a bit. Well, she has before COVID, and I know Lorna quite well. And with her company, she was the face of women's products, like for perimenopause and menopause. And her face was actually on the supplement companies. She ended up getting bought out, and then later on, now she's doing some other things. But they slowly had to integrate her face off the bottles because she wasn't involved with the company anymore. But I think she did some speaking for them. You think Lorna Vander? I don't know. My dog's going crazy. I said keep the dogs. Anyways,
kids, right?
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe we'll pivot a little bit and bring you more into the personal realm and ask you if there's a personal. Maybe you can share both personal mantra and professional mantra. If there's something that you do that really gets you in the right frame of mind, that gives you that motivation to carry on and continue to try and think outside the box.
Well, for me, I'm a firm believer in health and wellness and getting the right nutrition and getting the proper exercise every day. And I'll head down to the beach, and I will generally, if it's super cold, I'll just sit in my car and look at and do a little work there, or I'll go for a walk and down the pier. So personally, that is something that I like to do at least 5 days a week during the weekday. Is health wellness is really important to me. And that gets my headspace in a good space. It's like making my bed every day. I know that if I make my bed every day, I know that when I wake up, I've done the right thing. When I go to bed, I've done the right thing. I've made my bed. And really important to hold ourselves accountable for these choices. Like, I hold myself accountable, and I'm the only one to blame. If I go out to an event and I've had too much wine at the event, I'm the only one to blame for that. I can say no. So we have to hold ourselves accountable. And that is where I'm at with the personal side of it. Business side, every single day I've got to make something happen. I get up every day and I'm like, what kind of magic am I going to make today? And I'm a firm believer in only I can make that happen. And if this relationship is not working, then I have to find the relationship or the path. This path isn't working. Well, let's do this path. It doesn't mean that I failed. It just means that path is not the path for me to get where I want to go. So if you're struggling, or, someone here that's listening and it's not working and you keep hitting your head up against the wall, that is the wrong path. Do something totally different. Still do your business. I'm not saying like, oh, I own a nutrition company, I'm not going to do it. Well, if there's 10 billion vitamin C products on the market and yours isn't selling, maybe try to come up with another product that people are wanting. Right now we're coming up with something new and incredible. So every day, make that magic happen. Every single day, make that magic happen. And it doesn't have to be huge, but it's got to be something where, okay, I am one step closer. I am one step closer. So those are my two things: health, wellness, holding myself accountable.
Make the magic happen. I love it.
Make the magic happen.
The magic happen.
Make the magic happen. And only you can do it. Like, like I said, when I first came up with this Pursue 365 idea, everyone said to me, well, in 3-4 months, you're not going to get 365 women to write 365 words of something personal. And we did.
Mhm.
And, you know, then, right. Like, and I'm like, well, why can't I? It's the power of the ask. There's no reason why I can't do that. The only thing that's holding me back is me. And if one person says no, and this goes through business in general, if one person says no, does that mean that the next person says no? What is there? How many billion people in this world? I don't even know anymore. 77? I don't know. There's billions of people. Someone says no, that's just not the right person for you to do business with, right? It's like dating, or it's like, you know,
Yeah.
the vegetables that we feed our kids. Well, my kid, if they don't like the broccoli, well, let's pick another vegetable that you do like. I'm not going to force them to eat broccoli, right? Let's pick something you do like that's green. So there's so many choices out there, and we just give up like so easily. That's what I notice really these days, is like it's so easy to just give up. So yeah,
On everything, on relationships, on jobs. And, you know, I think I see that a lot in the younger generation as well, which is if it's a little too hard, you know, it's easy to just go, oh, I'm giving up. You know, I'm going to not do it anymore. But I think to your point, the entrepreneurial spirit is, you need that. You need a little fire. You need to be pushing yourself, and you know, you are going to have doors that close. And to your point, then the next one, you wait for the next one to open, right?
You wait for the next one, or you make that other one happen. And, right. You know, someone had said to me just recently, because stuff was a little bit tough in the last, you know, making the pivot to being international. You know, I made a goal. I wanted at least 15 people from Australia in the book. So I connected with a woman in Australia, and she's now my ambassador. And I don't know, I think she brought 18 or 20 people on. And I said, I want these many people from Australia. And then, you know, I want this many people. And, you know, it's just stepping outside the box, power of the ask, never giving up. And the one girl said to me, oh, Elizabeth, her name is, and Elizabeth, she's been in she's in this book, and then she's in the book before this, the one that was the Black book. And she's like, Shelley, generally when things are getting a little bit tough is when the growth is happening. And this is when everything's going to change. And she's so right. So if I would have quit and just, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I have a lot of growth I still have to do. I am definitely not where I want to be, but I'm also very proud of everything that I've done to date. And being a full-time mother, I have my children, I have my 8-year-old and my 17-year-old full-time. I don't have weekends off. I don't have, in 5.5 years, I have never had, they're always with me. Their father's in their life, but they're with me full-time, and he lives far away. So he's a 6-hour drive away. To be doing what I'm doing, I am very proud of what I'm doing. But it boils down to going back to the whole thing. Connections, being authentic, power of the ask, never giving up. It's what it boils down to. And when it gets hard is to go, holy smokes, I was going to swear there. Holy smokes, this is really hard. Like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Power through it. Power through it, and then say, hey, I did it. Now what's the next thing? Now where's the next hurdle I'm going to get through? Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I just I wanted to share a comment that our audience put out when we were talking about, you know, connection and old school connection. Stephanie shares, nothing is important as old-fashioned human-to-human connection. Nothing beats the one-to-one, one-on-one touch. And it's so true. I think you've done as well as you've done, Shelley, because of your personality and your ability to go out and make those strong connections. You weren't afraid. You didn't take no. You could evident after 10 years, you went back. You got your girl. So that's evidence too.
Well, thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I don't see any other questions, Gabriella. Okay. So I'll turn it back up to you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. You know, you not only inspired me, but I hope you inspired all our other listeners as well. You know, it's about the ask. It's about being diligent. It's not being afraid to fail. It's about, you know, keep going, you know, take those chances. And if you don't, and if you fail or it doesn't work out, it's just a learning experience. and that, you know, and it's amazing. You know, you're very agile. You can continue to be a great success. And you were the one that reached out to me. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. So thank you for that. Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to have you back, and we can talk about your book when it gets launched. How about that?
Wonderful.
So next week, we have another fabulous guest. Thank you, Shelley, whose journey is sure to inspire you. To learn more, join our Jump Into It Facebook page. We have an Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to us on Jump Into It, our podcast. It's available on Apple TV, Spotify, iHeartRadio, to name a few. With the courage and knowledge to bring your ideas to life, get ready to jump into it. Thank you for listening.